Hello, welcome again. And I'm very happy again that you are here and you are sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us, poor parents, dealing with our reality. So
I'm very happy. I know what it's like.
I know that you know. So thank you. Anyway, today we will discuss emotions. And I would like, as a first question, ask you, are there any good and bad emotions, the one that we can feel and the one that we shouldn't feel?
There are no good and bad emotions. We just feel. I mean, we're in a world that's very complex with wonderful things and really painful things. And our feelings are just our bodies and minds' chemical reactions to what's happening around us. And they're actually very useful. And we need to listen to our emotions, not just think that they are not good for us. So I think it's really important to accept them and then think about what they are. Why am I feeling this? What else can I do now? And not to feel guilty about what your feelings are. They're there for a good reason and for us to listen to.
I have read a sentence that too much negative emotions results in reaction, not thoughtful responses. So, can you tell us how the knowledge about emotions can help us to deal with our children as a thoughtful response, not just reactions?
Yes. So what happens is that there's negative or draining emotions and positive and uplifting emotions. And when our brain experiences too much negative emotions, it gets into a state of sort of, I don't know, like a bit of a panic, like where our mind wants to run away or fight or flight, that kind of response. Because there's just so much happening and feeling that it's confusing and we can't make sense of it. And so we get into a state where really the only thing our mind can help us to do is to keep ourselves safe. And that's where we react. We go into reactive mode. Because when we have too many negative emotions, either us or our children, and we start to feel this panic, this rising stress of adrenaline and cortisol, then it's like a shutter comes down in our brain, because the body just wants to respond quickly and it doesn't want to deal with all the feely, thoughty stuff. Like that's too complicated. And so we can't access the really helpful part of our brain that can respond carefully and be thoughtful because we're in this state of panic. And when we recognize that's what's happening to us as parents and also in our children, that can help us to think differently about those situations. Yes, because we will react rather than being responsive parents when we have too much stress in our brain.
Do you have maybe an example of a thoughtful response for a child's strange behavior that makes us really angry?
I think when I see a child that's behaving in that way and I can feel the anger rising me, I take a deep breath. I think what's going on in this child right now, because I know that whatever is coming out in their behavior is a result of a lot of stuff that's going on inside. And the behavior that we see is only the tip of the iceberg of whatever's going on in here. And there's times when you just want to stop them, control them. And I've learned to take a deep breath, so that I calm, maybe take a few deep breaths so that I then can activate my more responsive brain and not just my reactive stop brain, and say, come here, you are really overwhelmed and that's a lot. I can see that you're feeling really distressed right now. So let's just come here and sit quietly and calm down together. And I might sit on the floor with a really troubled child, put my back against the wall with a cushion, hold them between my legs with them facing away from me and just hold them and be careful they're not going to bash my head with their head because that can happen too. And just hold them and say, I'm here, I'm safe, you're okay. And keep my voice calm, like take it a bit lower every time, a bit slower, just breathe. And that way I find they can calm and I can calm. And sometimes you have to hold them for a while. I remember holding one child for 30 minutes till I thought, I'm not strong enough to hold this child anymore. And we were outside. If I let go, he's going to run into the road. So I was praying that my husband would come and help me. He was with another child. And so I was like, oh, help. And I just prayed and calmed. And then fortunately, he calmed. He ran out of energy too. It's recognizing that whenever a child is behaving in a way that we find difficult, it's because they're experiencing something in here that they find difficult and they can't put it into words. And so they act it out. And I guess I learned quite early on, when a child is having a big reaction of their own, it doesn't help to have a big reaction of my own. That will just make them feel even worse and like put more fuel on their fire. And so I have to be the one to try and calm myself down. It's not always easy. Sometimes you need another parent to come like, okay, I just need some space. Can you do this for a while I just breathe somewhere else? And then I'll come back and kind of take it in turns with a really distressed child. The important thing is not to add more to their distress.
But in situations like those, mostly when someone older than we are stands next to us, she or he is saying, oh, you are spoiling this child. You should spank him and it will be over. What to say, how to react on those nice people around giving suggestion how to deal with situation.
Yes, they're a challenge. And sometimes even if they're not next to us physically, they can be somewhere in our brain saying, you should be doing this.
Yeah.
I will tell them, I will tell them that I have learned that when someone is distressed, they don't need us to make them more distressed. That's not going to help. What this child needs right now is for us to be calm with them and help them to calm, because they're dealing with an emotion that's too big for them. And we can be big enough to help them with that. That's the kind thing to do. You don't make a child behave better by making them feel worse.
Yeah.
And that's the really important principle. And it's not how God treats us either. You know, he's a God of all comfort. He's the God of calm and peace. The first thing that he says, that Paul says about love, is that it's patient and it's kind. Okay, so let's think about how we can be patient and kind, because that's the greatest way we can start to show love to a really distressed child. And often we have no idea how much distress is going on in a child, and they have no idea how to tell us what they're feeling. So yes, it's up to us to help them calm.
And very often it also happens that children are dealing with hard emotions for them because they are hungry, they are thirsty, they need to go to washroom, for example, and they just don't know how, they feel something, they don't know how to name this, so they are getting stressed or aggressive. And I'm always thinking, why I should spank a child when he doesn't know how to say I'm hungry? It's so strange.
Yes. Spanking actually never helps, because it makes them feel worse. And it teaches them all sorts of things, like if I don't like someone else's behavior, I can hit them too, which is not a great lesson for children to learn. That leads actually to adults that can become quite abusive. So when we react to children's really strong emotions without empathy, they learn not to be empathic. When we react to their strong emotions and behavior with violence, they learn to be violent. And we need to be really careful what we're teaching them through our behavior. And also it shows a picture of who God is. When we're distressed, do we think God is someone who's going to tell us to stop crying and to hit us and to ignore us or put us in another room far away? That is not how he is. He is the God of all comfort, who is always with us, loving us, being patient, kind to the end of time. Yeah, and we're human parents. We're not going to quite achieve that, but we can learn from him how we can respond differently. Amen. And I find the more I experience that from God for myself in my distress, then the better able I am to give that to my children and to other people. Yeah, so.
Okay, so I read again, great sentence, that your knowledge about emotions will guide you to discipline with wisdom. How can it help us?
I really do think that the more we understand about emotions, the more we really can discipline with wisdom. It certainly has helped me so much to understand what is at the heart of the different negative or draining emotions, and also how to help children and myself engage with the positive emotions. So I think it is really, really very important to understand what the emotions are trying to tell us. One of the things that emotions are invitations to connect with the other person. You know, in the Bible, it says, mourn with those who mourn and rejoice with those who rejoice. It's like when someone's happy, that's an invitation to just get in there and celebrate with them, not to tell the child, oh, shut up and sit down and stop jumping around. You know, let's just celebrate whatever they're celebrating. Yay, let's do this together. And also, if they're sad, let's just be sad with them, and don't tell them stop crying. Just go along and, you're so sad. Let me just sit here and be sad with you. How can I comfort you? What could I do that might help it to feel better? Or do we just sit here and cuddle because there aren't any words? And anger, even anger is an invitation to connect and solve a problem. And underneath anger, there's all sorts of emotions that can lead to anger. So when there's anger, I usually call it in English frustration, because if you call it anger, it can make them feel like more angry, like you're judging them. So it's easier to call it frustration. And then when they're frustrated, it's to help them solve an issue. They might feel injustice. We feel anger when there's injustice. I tend to feel anger when I feel like someone doesn't understand me. I've been doing my level best to be kind and someone takes it the wrong way. I was like,
yeah.
It's not a great response, but it tells me I'm being misunderstood. And, you know, as parents, if you lose a child and you find them, often the first thing you do is like be really angry at them. And it's just out of your fear. So fear, sadness, all sorts of things can actually come out as anger. So when there's anger, it's like, okay, what's going on underneath? What triggered the anger? Because then we might know what the emotion is, the first emotion is, and we can deal better with that. So emotions are there to help us express what's going on inside to other people, so they can come alongside and understand us, help us, comfort us, celebrate with us, in all sorts of things. So understanding as emotions as this invitation to connect. So when a child is showing an emotion, it's okay, they need me to connect with them. How do I connect with them on this in a way that can help them to calm an emotion that's difficult for them, or to celebrate and enjoy a moment which is wonderful for them?
I remember when I came back from school, as I was little, I mean teenager, I remember this, it's so important, this invitation to connect with your child, because I remember coming back home, for example, frustrated, angry, or disappointed by myself. Like I was disappointed by my behavior, for example. And I enter home and I heard question, how was it? Tell me, what was it in school? And I was even more frustrated because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what is in my head. And I would be so much thankful to my mom when she would just look at me, try to recognize what is going on, and then join me in those feelings, because then mostly I ended up alone dealing with my own frustration and also dealing with my mom's frustration, that I don't want to say anything about my frustration. It's so crazy. Listening and joining child in the moment where he is or she is, it's so much easier. It made the life so much easier.
It does. And I think, you know, as adults and parents, it's our job to kind of help our children with. It's really our job to help them deal with those big emotions that they come home from school with, and just to sit down and just read them first, and like, oh, looks like you've had a bad day.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So you want to talk about that? No, it's fine. Let's have a conversation about it, or let's go for a walk and talk about it, or can I make you a nice hot drink and let's just sit here and have a chat. And when you're ready, talk.
It's so important.
It's so important, yeah. And then when they do, listen to them and comfort them. Like,
Mhm.
what they say. don't fight with it. So they say, I hate my teacher. They're absolutely stupid. I'm never going back to school. It's ridiculous. I don't care if I clean streets the rest of my life. And then the parents' panic is going up. They have to go to school. They must like the teacher. If they don't go to school, they're going to be a disaster. And I don't want my child cleaning the streets. And
what my friends will tell when they will listen or hear that. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so sounds like you had a really bad day today. Tell me more. Tell me more. And then, wow, your teacher did that. Oh my goodness, that I would find that frustrating too. That is really sad. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And to hear the story, to say, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Mourn with those who mourn. So you're not trying to tell them you mustn't feel like that, because that makes, that doesn't help. It never helps to tell anyone don't feel like that. We feel, right? And it judges their feelings, and then they feel uncomfortable, then they feel they can't talk to us. So if we listen, acknowledge the feelings, calm them, when we calm them with our voice, with our peaceful presence, when we talk like slower and calmer and do things that are good for them. So how can I comfort you? That's been a really rough day. What can we do now to make it better? What can we do just to have some fun, or to cheer you up, or to heal that pain in your heart? Should we go for a walk, make your favorite meal, make you a nice hot chocolate, have a warm bath and a big cuddle or a tickle fight or whatever it is, and just be ready with things that will help them to rebalance, to soothe their emotions and to feel calm again.
So, till which age we should support our children with dealing with their emotions? Because many parents, they expect that, okay, 11-year-old child should already be able to deal with himself. Is it like that?
I would say that as a parent, we have to be ready to deal with our children's big emotions as long as they're alive and we're alive. And especially when they hit teenage years, they're in such a confusion as their brain is rewiring for teenage life and adult life. And they have so many feelings, so many hormones, so many difficult situations that we never had to face. They need a lot of help with their emotions as they're a teenager, because they're just completely overwhelming at times, and they don't know how to process it. So they need extra help then, I think. But I think as a parent, I think we need to be ready to help our children with their big emotions whenever they hit them, because even as adults, they experience traumas and discouragements, disappointments, tragedies, and we can always be there, ready to catch their big feelings
and to support
them.
Yeah, and also I think it's very important to share in family feelings that you are going through as a parent, and telling how you dealt with it. For example, in the evening during this opening Sabbath meetings, where you can share what you have gone through your week, for example, it is also an example for children how you dealt with it, and it might be helpful, because many parents, they keep as a secret things that didn't go as well as they wanted. But this is like a lesson for the youngest in family.
It's actually really, really important to do that. And it's not that hard. I mean, choose an emotion that perhaps wasn't too big, but something you had to deal with during the week, even during the day, say, oh, I had this really frustrating time at work today because my boss asked me to prepare some handouts for his presentation, and when I went to the photocopy, it was broken. Like I couldn't make it work, and we were going to have to wait 3 days for someone to fix it. And I thought, what am I going to do? I was so frustrated, I was so stressed. And then I remembered, I calmed down, took a few breaths, had a nice drink of water. And then I remembered my friend, she has a little photocopier in her room, and there weren't that many handouts. So I asked her, can we put these through your photocopier? And she said, yes, of course you can. And I felt so relieved. And I just thank God that he helped me to calm down and think through a better response. So that helps a child to know what kind of things are frustrating, what is frustration, what to do, like pray, take some deep breaths, just pause, just think about some alternatives, ask for help. And all those things can be really helpful information to them. And whatever it is, whether we've got angry, frustrated, sad about something, even when we feel someone's embarrassed us, or we feel guilty that we made a mistake or hurt someone, just talking through those things can all be such good training for kids.
Yeah.
Because they learn the emotion, they learn how we express it, they learn what to do with it, and then we equip them to deal with them.
They see also that we are humans, just humans,
Yes.
and not someone.
Yes.
Okay.
And when we can admit our difficult emotions, then it's easy for them to admit them to us.
Yeah.
About their fears, their frustrations, because it becomes more part of the conversation. They're like, oh, it's okay, mummy feels that too. It's all right.
Yeah. So can you give us any guidelines how to experience more of the positive emotions in families?
I love this bit because I wish someone had taught me about this sooner, I didn't learn about how to intentionally experience positive emotions until I was, about 12 years ago.
Oh.
And I wish I had learned this when I was younger, because when someone told me, like, a light went on in my head, it was like, whoa, I can actually choose an emotion. I don't just have to deal with them like they hit me over the face. Because I would feel sad like this, and they'd go like, oh, I have to feel sad now until sad goes away. How long is that going to be? And but then I learned about this, and I learned that even when you feel sad, even when you're going through difficult times in life, you can intentionally engage with the positive emotions. So I think the first thing is just to actually know what they are, to know the positive emotions that you can engage with quite quickly. And it's not rocket science, it's actually really simple. So there are things like gratitude. And that's a really good one. Gratitude is like natural anti-anxiety medicine. So when we start to think about what we're thankful for, then we feel less anxious because our brain can't do both. And so just stopping with your kids and going, okay, let's go through the alphabet and thank God for one thing beginning with every letter of the alphabet. Okay, let's stop here. Let's look around this room and name 10 things we're thankful for that we've never been thankful for before. Because, there's thousands of things in your house that you've never said, thank you for this candle, this table, this whatever, this radiator. Or we walk along the road and we just say one thing after another we're thankful for, or we go to bed and say, what 3 things are you thankful for? So gratitude is a really good one. Then doing kind things for others, love, feeling of love and creating love is obviously very good. And that's when we have any of the lovely positive emotions together with someone else. We share the gratitude, we share the joy. So there's joy and laughter, which is slightly different. Like joy is just happy, and laughter is something funny that makes you laugh. And so those things are really important. So you can just share the thing that made you most happy today and just think about that. Tell me, what was the happiest thing that happened to you today? And when they share that, just be happy with them. Yay, that's amazing. Let's do a little dance and celebrate that happy thing. And this is what made me happy today. And what made you laugh today? Did anything make you laugh? And if they can't think of anything, then do funny things. Let's pull the funniest face, or let's see who can do the funniest walk, or go now and in 5 minutes, come back with the funniest outfit you can find in the house. Or let's have a look at this really funny book. There's lovely, funny children's books that you can read that make them laugh and are quite gentle. So have a stack of the funny things that you can read, or even little videos of animals doing funny things. So it's just natural, positive humor. And good humor laughs together with, it doesn't laugh at. If you laugh at somebody, that's not nice. So we learn about laughing with people and helping them to laugh. So those things can be really helpful too. And then peace. We don't often have enough peace in our lives. Just like, let's just sit still here. Maybe go outside and find a lovely place. Let's just sit still and let's just listen and see how many birds that we can hear and smell. I wonder how many things we can smell. I wonder how many things you can see that you've never noticed before. I wonder whether there's anything here to taste. Let's have a look. And so just pausing, experiencing around you through your emotions. Also blowing bubbles is really good, because when we blow bubbles, it helps us breathe in a way that calms us. Any bubbles are pretty anyway, so they give you some delight. So looking at what went well, what did you do well today? And maybe the child goes like, oh, it was a rubbish day, I didn't do anything well. So I saw you do this, and I was so proud of you. That was a good choice. So notice what they do well and tell them, and that's a really good thing. Give them a sense of purpose, like something that they can do, that they can feel good about in the home. Even if it's just a small task, it's their special responsibility to maybe make the table look pretty for Sabbath, or to just do something that they love, but they do it for the family. So those things are good as well. Wonder is amazing. And again, that stillness in the woods can give you that space for wonder. Find something that fills you with wonder, even if it's just rubbing, you make wax rubbings of the different bark and the different patterns, or turning over a log and seeing all the creepy crawlies run away. Because even if you don't like creepy crawlies, like seeing how many there are and how they move, and that they under there eating wood and stuff like this is kind of amazing. So wonder is a great thing. And when I've had a day and I'm coming home on the bus, I think, oh, I could do with some like topping up with positive emotions. And then I do that. I think of things I'm thankful for. I look out the window and find something that fills me with wonder. I look on my phone for something funny to make me laugh. I get off the bus stop several stops earlier because the walk is prettier. And as I walk home, then I look for something that fills me with wonder, and I take a photograph of it. So we can intentionally engage with things that really are good for us. And I don't think we've learned how to do that. No one ever teaches us that you can go and choose these positive experiences. Also, having a great hobby where they can just lose themselves in a book, or making a building project, a construction kit or something like that. And those things can also be really helpful, that they have a hobby that absorbs all their attention, because it pushes out all the rubbish out of their brain while they're focused on this good thing that they love. And that really is good for their heart.
Many people expect us to feel certain things when we meet in life certain situations. And this is so silly. I would say silly. And it was also for me a discovery that life is like a railway. You have two lines. One is positive and one is negative. And no matter what you will meet in your life, you can just choose between those two styles of life, and this is just your choice. You are not forced, or it is not that you should feel this way when you meet something. It is just your choice what you will do with this situation, and you can do this or that, and none of these is required from life to feel. It's just your choice to make.
Yes, I think that emotions happen to us. We're in a world and we respond to what's happening around us. Those emotions we don't have control over. Something will happen, we'll feel frightened, sad, happy, but then we have a choice. Do I carry on feeling this? Recognize I'm feeling this because, and then think, I maybe need to feel that for a while. Like fear can stop you from like walking too close to the edge, and sadness, we need to grieve. That's part of healing. But also, even when I'm grieving, I can have moments of wonder and loveliness, and I can choose those. And I show a picture often, and it looks like a really dark picture, like really grim. And I say, we can choose, we can look at this dark bit. And then I show the next slide and I pan out, and it's this beautiful garden. And there's just a stark place at the middle, at the end of a tunnel of beautiful, beautiful flowers. And it's like what you were saying, we can focus on the dark bit in the middle, or we can take a step back and go, wow, that's just one bit of this huge picture. And there's so much loveliness and goodness and beauty all around that I can actually look at that. And it's what Paul said, focus on things that are pure and lovely and, good report and excellent and all of that. And we can choose. Even Paul was going through a really difficult time when he said that. He was on death row in a Roman prison. And humanly speaking, it's one of the worst places to be. You don't know when you're going to wake up and have your head chopped off or be fed to the lions or whatever happens. But his book, Philippians, his letter to his friends in Philippi, is just so full of amazing joy. And the last chapter in particular, he lists several of these things that we're talking about now to engage with positive emotions, because he knew he could be in control of his thoughts. And even in a difficult, dark place, he could choose these bright spots. of rejoicing, of trusting God with everything, of being kind to people, let your gentleness be evident to all, focus on these beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what helped him. Even 2000 years ago, he kind of learned this. And so it's a really useful way to deal with the stuff that's happening around us in life.
And I think it's also important for parents to have this perspective for life, for children, because many times when child has an situation, let's say just situation, we tend to focus on this one situation, and we are not seeing that the whole week was great and everything was fine, and this is just this little situation. It might help us to have this big picture in our head and to choose the positive life or dealing with life.
Yes, I think it's important as a parent to kind of check in with your own emotions, and just see where you're at. Because I find that when I'm feeling a bit dippy or stressed, it's like, okay, stop right now. Let's just think about what's going on here. What do I need to listen to in my body about what I need? And how can I also engage with the positive emotions that will help me to rebalance? And I have quite an eventful life, at times quite stressful. And for me, as a natural introvert, going out there, speaking, traveling, doing all these sorts of things is, sometimes outside my comfort zone. And so I use these things to help me rebalance. And it has been such a blessing to me. I'm actually like a much more positive, happy, nicer person for my husband to live with, because they learned how to do this. And if I had learned this when my children were younger, then it would have really, really helped me. And I like your idea of perspective, because I think that most of us as parents, most of us are doing brilliant parenting 95% of the time. We absolutely are. We take it for granted that we get up, we get the children ready, we feed them, we clothe them, we do the laundry, we do the shopping, all the things that we do. It's really excellent.
I get emotional. I think most of the time parents hear that they are not doing fine job and they are lacking of experience, of knowledge, they are spoiling children. And this, what you said right now, is so comforting, even for me. Thank you.
It's just so important. And as a family therapist, I work with families who are like in deep distress, who are really, really struggling. And one of them came to me and said, I have a file this thick on how bad a mother I am. And I said to her, do you know what? In this conversation that we've had just now, these are the things that I spotted in your parenting that I think were amazing. She had 3 disabled children. I was like, you did this, you said this. And I pointed them out. I said, this is amazing parenting, what you're doing there. And I said, I want you at the end of every day to stop and think of 3 things you did well, at least 3 things, and to go to bed with that thought. Because I know what it's like as a parent. You go to bed, you think, oh my goodness, they didn't clean their teeth. And I just yelled at them and I shouldn't have yelled at them today. And I did this and I did that. And it's like, I'm such a rubbish parent. And that's not good for us. If we go to bed like that, it actually is really bad for our brain, because all the stress and worry in our brain does things at night. And actually, we did 95% of things well. So what? They go to sleep one night without having their teeth cleaned. Just let it go. The teeth are not going to fall out tomorrow because you forgot once. Like most of the children in the world don't go to bed with their teeth cleaned. It's okay. They live. and have like a long-term approach. So I said to this mother who was struggling, I said, are your children still alive? And she laughed and goes like, yes, they're still alive. So that's an achievement, I have one child and he's broken 15 bones before he left home. And I know that keeping them alive can be a challenge. And then I was like, did you feed them today? Yes, I fed them. So they're alive, you fed them. And where are they now? They are in bed asleep. That is brilliant. Give yourself a pat on the back for achieving that. Parenting is one of the most amazing things we do in this world. It's the most important thing we do. Also, it can be the absolute toughest. And if you get to the end of the day and they're alive, fed, and asleep in bed, safe, that is pretty brilliant. Sometimes that's as good as it gets, and just be glad for that and just notice that. But I said, you are doing a lot more than that for your children. And just think about what you are doing well, because we're never going to be perfect parents. We were never perfectly parented. We will never be perfect parents. We can be good enough parents, and we can notice what we do well, because when we do that, it encourages us, and we can then, we're in a better place when we have an attitude of what have I done well, and how can I build on that, rather than I did this and this and this wrong, and just go to bed feeling so unhappy. That then rubs off on our children. And tell our children you did this well. Tell them 3 things they did well, so they go to bed with that as well, because they need to know that too. I think the other thing that used to keep me sane when crazy things were happening, that you'd think, oh no, my child is doing this is so terrible. I would think, okay, by the time a child is 18, are they still likely to be doing this? No. Most of them stop by the time they're 18. So they will not be doing this as an adult. This too will pass, basically, and actually try to see almost sometimes the funny side of it, or find a way of looking at it, just absorbing it. And, some of their behaviors that we consider challenging are often because they are hurting and sad or something, and they need us to think a little bit more about what's going on for them in their life. And we don't always know, because things happen at school and maybe they can't say. So it's useful to say, what made you happy today? What made you sad today? And what made you afraid? Because often we don't ask that. And if we ask them what made them afraid, maybe we'd find out more about what we could help them with and their fears. So those are some thoughts.
Well, I would like to add one more thing, that something that really helped me go through some situation when I felt so guilty. I felt so bad. Was that I prayed before. My son was quite sick, and we tried many things, and we finally tried also hydrotherapy. So we were covering him with a wet sheet, and then under blankets, and to make him warm. And as we did this first time, we were praying before, and the next day I realized that it didn't work as well as I thought it would be working, because we covered his little body with the size of a sheet for an adult. And I felt so guilty. I felt like, oh, why you were so stupid to make it so bad? Like, why? You should be thinking. And then I came to a thought that, okay, I have prayed. I did my best. I made research. Everything. I prayed. So God knows that I didn't want to hurt him. I just made what I could, the best what I could. And now I know better. I will change, and just don't punish yourself, because God doesn't do that. He understands, and he will heal the things that you messed up.
Yes, he does. I think that's very important to know that God co-parents with us, and he helps us. He knows that it's a struggle. And that the love, all that I read about the love of God tells me that he is patient with me. He's kind with me. He keeps no record of wrongs, all these lovely things that he says. And we need to read that over and over again, I think, as parents, to experience just how much God loves us in all its dimensions. He does that for us so that then we can love our little ones. And I love that in Isaiah, I think it's 40:11, he says, I gently lead those that have young. He gently leads mothers and parents, and carries the little ones in his arms too. And I remember one time just being absolutely hopelessly stressed one night, and just thinking I was such a terrible mother, and I was angsting about it. And then I was just laying in bed and praying, and I just felt God say, you go to sleep. You need to rest. I'll look after them. Like, I'm up anyway, so I'll just take care of them through the night while you rest. And I kind of felt like God was giving me like a big hug, like, you just need to be loved. And I think that's where I've gone quite a lot of times when I I'm overwhelmed with my feelings as a mother, is just crawl into God's lap and let him give me a big hug and just be topped up with his love for me, for my child. And then I can go back and live in the space of that love the next day with the child, knowing that I am loved, I am forgiven, and I can pass that on. And we can't pass that on to our children if we haven't experienced that love, forgiveness, acceptance, support from God.
So, Karen, please tell us, can we do something more to help our children experience more of positive emotions?
I think it starts with being aware of what the positive emotions are. And I created a project called Flourish, which is on my website, and we'll put the link with this on the Trans-European Division website under Family Ministries. You can find Flourish, which gives you posters for lots of different positive emotions, and each one has 10 things you can do. A lot of them you can do with your children without any effort or any materials, so that you can do more of the positive emotions in your life together. And they're just little starters, and once you taste them, you go, oh yes, I could do that, and I could do that. And we even have a lovely poster there for kids. If you could scroll down, you can find a poster, and you can blow it up to A3. And it's a tree with little animals at the bottom and leaves. And every time they do something that helps them to flourish, to experience a positive emotion, and they choose it or they do it with you, you can put a little leaf on there. You might even write on there, laugh or love or joy or peace or wonder if you want. You can either color in a blank leaf, or you can get a sticker, or you can just cut green leaves out of paper and stick it on. So the more they do it, the more their tree will flourish and have all these lovely leaves on it. You can add some fruits and flowers as well, if you like, to make it even more pretty. And it's the intentionality of experiencing positive emotions. It actually doesn't take very much. And the important thing is this idea of emotional balance. So in every day, we're going to have negative emotions and positive emotions, because we live in a world that's both, right? It's messy and it's beautiful. And what we actually need to experience is 3 times more positive than negative emotions, just to get a healthy baseline. It's like, whoa, that's a lot. So we can check in with ourselves and think, how much of the negative emotions did we feel? How often and how much did we feel of these emotions today? And then how much and how often did we feel the positive emotions, and kind of check in. There's even something called positivityratio.com on the internet, and you can fill out a questionnaire and it will work out the ratio. So the more positive emotions we have, the more they can balance out the natural negative ones. And that's what helps us to flourish. When the negative ones pile up and we lose the energy to access the positive ones, then we can go down and down, and we can feel more depressed. We can even get burnt out, because they just like pile up on us and crush us. But we can choose the positive ones to kind of to float again, to kind of fill us up and give us that well-being. And once you get the hang of it, it doesn't take long. It's only like a few moments to blow some bubbles, or to look at something with wonder, or to think of things you're thankful for. It's not hard. And I find that now I've got so used to it that I can do that on the bus on the way home and rebalance my day and go home being a nicer person to my husband. So this idea of emotional balance makes sure that we don't just get completely overwhelmed with negativity, and that we stop before bedtime and make sure we and our children have some positive things, even just what you do around the table, make meal times fun and nice, talk about fun things, have some little fun activities you can do at the table. Let's see if you can make on your plate something that looks like an animal, and we have to guess what it is out of your food, so they get to play with their food a bit and have some fun, whatever. And if we put that into the mealtime, the early evening, then we'll all go to bed probably happier and more peaceful from doing that. So balancing emotions is making sure that we're not drowning in the negative stuff, and that we know we can intentionally choose the things that will rebalance us in a healthy way. So I find it quite helpful to understand that the balance is important, and it's not just 1 for 1, it's actually 3 to 1 or 4, 5, 6. If you get too high, you've probably lost contact with reality, and that's not great either. So, we're not aiming for like 10 to 1, just being aware of what the balance is.
I would like to ask you for like creating right now a list of the main important things that we were talking about as a guidelines, because what I caught from our conversation is try to connect with your child and then pray, because when you pray yourself, you have a contact with God, then you can be as like not a source, but something that the love goes through to your child.
Anna.
Also channel. Yeah. Would you add something more?
I think it's helpful to be aware of what the negative and positive emotions are, to recognize that the negative emotions are just from living in a difficult world, not to judge them, never to say a child, you shouldn't feel like that. Just listen and help them to manage them, teach them ways to deal with it, and then help them to engage with the positive emotions. The more of the positive emotions they have going into here, then the more positive behavior will come out of here. So it's really important to do that, to know what the positive emotions are and how you can just very quickly engage them with your child. Even have a box, I would say, or a basket where you chuck stuff in with things that will help them with their positive emotions. So it might be bubbles. I love those. Some hand cream that you can rub on their hands. It smells nice. Lavender or something calming. Maybe some nice drink that they like in there, a treat that's a good treat in there. Something funny, maybe little puzzles that they do that take their mind while they're solving their Rubik Cube or whatever it is. Things that fill them with wonder. So interesting shells and nature things and feathers, things that are not going to die in there, like decompose. So something long lasting. And just have like a kit. Okay, let's go to the well-being kit or the happy kit or whatever you want to call it, and go and let them play with the things in there and experience them together. That can be helpful. And then take care of yourself. You know, when you feel that you're overwhelmed, just pause and engage with one of the positive emotions. Just choose it until you can feel calmer again, and that will help you to deal more calmly with your own children as well. And we can just do those things in a couple of minutes here or there. We can even say every hour, I'm going to just think of something I'm thankful for, or look at something with wonder, or blow bubbles. And every time we do that, we're releasing the sort of the oxytocin in our brain, which is calming and gives us well-being, that actually helps us to then parent better and more wisely, and also engage with God, because in those moments we can pray, we can feel his love for us, his peace, his joy, his laughter, and that can reset us into more positive ways as parents.
Yeah. Dear parent, I would add also that you can choose the way you feel, and this is options. And something really interesting for me, as you were talking, is that I have found, as a summary for this subject today, a text from Philippians. And you were talking about Philippians, and there is chapter 4, verse 6 and 7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation be by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. So it's amazing that you were saying about the same text today, and we were not discussing this, what I have found.
Yeah, that chapter has so much in it to help us when we feel challenged. We think where Paul was and where we are, and we can learn from him. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. Before I will ask you for a closing prayer, I will introduce next subject. It will be education, because we have many options, many type of schools and the way we should raise our children. But is that important, or is there something else that we should pay attention? We will discuss about this next week, or whenever we will publish this next episode. So now, Karen, I would like you to ask you for a closing prayer.
Father God, we thank you for the way that you have created us. It's so amazing. And we're in this world where there is brokenness and beauty, and we have feelings that are really challenging and drain us, and feelings that can inspire us and fill us up. Please help us to notice the positive things around us so that we can be rebalanced in this world and we can care for our children's emotions and care for ours, because you've given us so many ways to experience your love and joy and wonder in peace to help us get through the challenges in this world. And we thank you for wonder, for laughter, for joy, for hope, for peace, for love and thanksgiving, and so many good things that you have given us to engage with that can bless our hearts, that can bring joy to our children and rebalance us. We thank you that you rejoice over us for singing, and that you are happy we bring you joy, and help us to remember that we bring you joy and our children bring you joy, even when we mess up, because you understand that we are children too, and we are learning with our children, and you care for us and you love us as the best father ever. So thank you that you nurture our hearts, you foster our positive emotions, and you take care of us as we take care of our little ones and help them with their emotions and lead them closer to you. In Jesus' name, amen.